whenever you find yourself within the Volta region, it's always nice rhythm. And as one who attended Maoli School, whenever it's the 1st of May during our Bobo breakfast, Bobo, then we'll add Borborbor to it. Bobo is beans, actually.
Right.
Add Borborbor to it. So 1st May we'll go.
Bobo and Borborbor.
Bobo and Borborbor.
That's nice. Well, it sounds good in Kukulmimle, just as good as it sounds in the Volta region. And we are excited to learn more about it. So let's say good morning to Dr. Senyo Adzei. Now, Dr. Adzei is a lecturer at the Department of Music and Dance at the University of Cape Coast. He's a specialist in ethnomusicologist, and he's our guest this morning.
Dr. Adzei, good morning, and thank you very much for joining us.
Good morning, my brother. How are you, please?
God is taking care of us. We believe that you're fine also this morning. So we've just been, listening to that documentary about Borborbor and, lots of things about it. Quick things, though. I mean, we're trying to understand when it started, as in the year. Lots of, questions about in the 50s, the late 40s. But also, how did it begin? Where did it start from? How different is it, for instance, from Akpese? Because for some people, they see Borborbor as Akpese.
Right. Okay, thank you once again for having me, and we extend our greetings and to all your listeners, and we want to congratulate all Ghanaians celebrating the Cultural Month. The issue on when and where and how it started will always be contentious, but research will always tell us give us some leeway to abstain and know what we can talk about. In your introductory statement, you said that anytime you visit Volta region, you are happy to have a good Borborbor rhythms with you to dance to and all that. I say that now it is not so. Bobo is everywhere.
Sure.
In Accra, in Kumasi, in Cape Coast, all over the country, even in the north. So you don't need to go to Volta region only to have a good rhythm of Bobo to dance to. That's one thing, first and foremost. Secondly, Bobo, in our circles, we refer to Bobo as one of the new type of indigenous music. There are others who call it traditional music, but I prefer to go with a new type of indigenous music which emerged here in Ghana. And by my research, we can credit it to early 50s. There are others also, depending on who you are reading or who you are listening to, who is speaking. How did it start? Now we get to the main question.
Sure.
Now, so we cannot trace the root of Borborbor without naming a town called Tupeasi in the eastern region. Now, there were some young men who hailed from Chito, Awudomen.
Okay.
These young men were lumber operators. Today we can say chainsaw operators. They were lumber operators. So they ran for a greener pasture in Tupeasi in the eastern region, were working with lumber. So when they were there, fortunately for me, in my research, I spoke to at least two of the people before they passed.
Okay.
In the evenings at Tupeasi, there was a musical genre over there called Konuma. They were performing Konuma. So when they get bored, what they do is that they join this Konuma group and then they perform with them. So they learn how to play Konuma. Now, job came to an end at some point, and they have to move back to where they hail, Chito, in the Volta region.
Okay.
Now, when they got back to Chito, they did not stop playing Konuma. They continued to play Konuma. And these are young, middle-aged men. Now, so another set of people in the town saw the Konuma they were playing. So what they needed to do is that they don't want to model Konuma exactly. They don't want to play Konuma exactly as these travelers were playing. So they decided to, as it were, develop their own music. In the process, they developed what is known today as Akase.
Hold on a minute, Dr. Adzei. Before you continue, Dr. Adzei, just before you continue, the Konuma that you talk about, so for those who do not know what that music or dance was all about, What is it? What is Akpese? Before we get to Borborbor.
Right. Konuma is also a new type of indigenous music which emerged among the Fanti people at the coast, in Cape Coast. Now, Konuma also came out of a music called Adaha music. Mm-hmm. Now, Adaha music is modeled after a brass band. Mm-hmm. You know, when the Europeans came here, they came with brass band.
Sure.
So the local people were playing the local form of brass band, which is known as Adaha music. So Adaha also gave birth to Konuma. So you see the Konuma, they made use of drums, so like the side drum and then the small snare drum. So those were the instruments that eventually developed. So from brass band music, from the Europeans, it moved to Adaha music, Adaha, which was a local brass band, we will say like that. Then the local brass band, which is Adaha music, gave birth to Konuma. So the Konuma actually emerged also among the Fanti people. But it travels. Konuma travels very fast. So Konuma was performed in parts of Greater Accra, part of Eastern region, and even part of the Ashanti region. Okay. Because these are all new type of musical. It was catching up with the young people. So that is Konuma. Now, when these people learned to play Konuma, they moved back to Chito in the Volta region. They did not let Konuma go. They were still playing Konuma. Then a young group of people also modeled another type of music, and that music is known as Akpese. Now, what they did was that they took the instrument, pati, the small snare drum is called pati. Now, that pati drum is taken, and then they use the rhythmic patterns of Konuma, and then what they do is that they change some of the songs they were singing, and people are able to compose songs extemporarily there and there, and are able to sing. Now, where does Bobo come in? Why am I giving this background to all these things? It is important to also say that there are so many people who refer to Bobo as Akpese. Mm-hmm. And based on my research, I say that Akpese is a different genre. It is not Borborbor. When you go, for example, to the southern part of Ghana and they are going to play Borborbor, they tell you they are going to play Akpese.
Yes.
The reason why they say they're going to play Akpese is what I'm explaining. Now, when these Chito people went for a funeral in Peve, also in the Volta region, those days there were no cars, you need to walk a long distance to attend funeral. When they were going for the funeral, they went with the Akpese group, which was played in Chito. Now, when Akpese started, it did not stay there, it moves. Peve started playing, Akrofu started playing, Abutia started playing, Sokode started playing. All the surrounding towns, Chito, they started playing Akpese.
Okay.
Now, they went for a funeral in Peve, also, where during the funeral they were playing. It was there that this man, we are told, Francis Kojonuatro, who we are told as the one who invented Borborbor, came for that funeral. So at the funeral, when he saw this type of music performed, he decided to also go back and start something. So, in fact, if you want to listen to the original Borborbor or the Borborbor that we know as original, that all the instruments we have today, they were not part of Borborbor. We will get to that shortly. So, Nuatro, seeing Akpese performed, he decided to model something again as in the form of Akpese. So, Nuatro went back to Pando and he developed Borborbor. We credit it to him because he, from the word go, he named it Borborbor.
Okay.
From the word go, he named it Borborbor. So Nuatro actually developed Borborbor. Now, the musical instruments he used were more or less almost like that of the Akpese. But again, movement and the songs almost similar to it. But then the dancing and other things changed along the line. So this is how Borborbor started.
You've talked about the original Borborbor and what we have today, the difference between it. What is the difference between what Kojo Nuatro started and what we have today?
Right. So these are all youth bands and everything associated with the youth. You can imagine that it will definitely have some dynamism and changes along the line. And let's remember, and I always want to tell people when I speak on these issues, that there is no culture that we can say is static. There's no static culture. Culture is dynamic. Now, the original Borborbor, the instrument used today, they don't even have them. They don't even use them. When you go to Pando, Francis Kwajo Nwatro's son today has established a Borborbor group in Pando today. In fact, they are saying that they are playing the original Borborbor, which is true. They use drums like pati, clappers, the castanet, and some other things that are found to be making good sound. The difference is that today we have 2 or 3 big drums called the Borborbor Vugan. I mean, they don't have indigenous, we just call the Vugan, the big drums. Now, there are 2 or 3, depending on where you are, your financial powers will support you to buy 2 or 3. So we have those using today. We have 2 or 3 supporting drums, depending on where you are coming from. We have the ahache or the akaye, which is also used today. We do have today, in fact, people have introduced dondong, the hourglass drum, which is also an Hausa drum into Borborbor. There are places dodo is not introduced into Borborbor. So this setup I have mentioned, this instrumental setup, was not part of the original one. The original one almost used the party, and the original Borborbor was faster than what we play today. Much faster in tempo. So the tempo then was much faster than the tempo of Borborbor today. We can understand also why the tempo today is much faster. Now you are exerting more energy. You have huge drums to carry, to lift from between your thighs. You put them between your thighs. You are lifting them. But the original one, normally the sticks were used. So you don't have to exert more energy in doing that. So use sticks. Sticks were used to play the Borborbor then and now. So that is why we can say that the Borborbor then was much faster than Borborbor today.
Okay. Dr. Senyo Adzei, I mean, I know there's a lot to be said. We have to make time and come again. We should meet in Cape Coast one of these days and continue with the discussion. But that's all time would allow us. Thank you very, very much for joining us this morning. We're grateful to you.
It is my pleasure, and a pleasure to your listeners as well.
Great.
That's Dr. Senyo Adzei. He's a lecturer at the Department of Music and Dance, University of Cape Coast, and a specialist in ethnomusicology.